What's going on, my fellow A-Plusers? Welcome back once again to a brand new episode of A-Plus Hero Report, your weekly stop for your Marvel, DC, television, and movie news, now officially on our YouTube page, A-Plus Hero Report. Ladies and gentlemen, it is I, your host with the most, Adam Perez, joined none other but my fellow nerd in crime, Stuart Branscombe. What's going on today, Stuart?
Not much. Finally saw Bill and Ted Face the Music yesterday, and yes,
nice.
It was really good.
Yeah, you liked it?
Yeah, it was really silly, super cheesy and all that. Exactly what you would expect from a Bill and Ted movie, but it really felt like, an actual like follow-up to Bill and Ted, Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey. So it was really good. I enjoyed it thoroughly.
Did it really keep sort of like the spirit of the original ones also? Because they definitely did have some cheese elements to it for sure, but there was always a lightheartedness about Bill and Ted that I always loved. So does it still carry on like the spirit from the originals?
Oh, very much so, definitely. There's I don't want to give away the ending, but I will say this: the ending is definitely quite a feel-good moment. Even though the way they get there is super, it's silly and cheesy in all the right ways, and that's pretty much all the way through till the ending. The ending is like a really kind of sweet message that is very generic, but at the same time, you love the effort they put into it, and you love the journey getting to that ending.
Dude, that's pretty excellent. But that's cool, man. That's cool. I still haven't had the opportunity to check it out yet. I definitely do want to check out that movie though. I think I have Mulan on my radar tonight. I'm at the girlfriend's place this weekend, so I'm really thinking about pulling the trigger on it. You did say last week you had the opportunity to check it out, right?
Yeah, I thought Mulan was good. Just don't compare it to the original because they're like two completely different movies. It's like comparing Prince of Egypt with the Ten Commandments. Like, yes, they're both based on the same story. They're not the same movie at all. That's how I feel about this Mulan movie. It has a few nods to the original. Other than that, this is basically it's more like Star Wars meets Wire Fu than it is like the Disney Mulan movie.
Interesting. Okay, well, maybe it helps, and this might be blasphemous to some people. Maybe it helps. I've never seen the original Mulan, the animated.
Really?
Yeah, never seen. I feel like, I definitely had growing up as a kid. I definitely had my own sort of Disney journey. Probably a lot of the older movies for sure. But I feel like by the time it got to something like a Mulan, I think I was probably well past the sort of Disney phase, and I just never, there are a couple Disney movies that, as I've gotten older, I haven't even really bothered to see, to be honest with you. I think Mulan was probably one of those, though.
Mm-hmm. I personally really enjoy it. Actually, yeah, he puts it perfectly for Evergreen. He says it looks like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. Yeah, that's kind of
some
the
of
style
the
to go for.
but say some of the clips I've seen. Yeah, some of the clips I've seen, I feel like have had that sort of action style to it. So I'm eager to see it. So I'll definitely go ahead and check it out. Listen, guys, before we even go further, I do want to go ahead and talk about something here because we did decide to go ahead and branch off A-Plus Hero Report into its own YouTube page. Now, Stuart was certainly nice enough, since he did have multiple YouTube pages, to go ahead and change up his Nerds of the Multiverse YouTube page, and we immediately went ahead and switched it up to turn it into A-Plus Hero Report. So for those of you who don't remember, we did have a YouTube page, A-Plus Opinions, that unfortunately did get shut down by YouTube. And so our way of branching off a little bit, not only have we started a YouTube page for A-Plus More Phenomenal, our Power Ranger side of things, but we decided, since we also had another weekly show that focused on other aspects of the fandom, why not go ahead and branch off A-Plus Hero Report into its own YouTube? Now, A-Plus Opinion certainly is not going anywhere by any stretch of the imagination, but I like to kind of think of A-Plus Opinions very much as like this hub, this home where we accumulate all this sort of nerd pop culture talk and everything that's going on in our world and our fandoms and things like that, and really use A-Plus Opinion sort of as its hub. So as of right now, we very much have a huge presence presence over on our Facebook side of things for A Plus Opinions. But we thought it would be pretty neat since, again, since we had 2 weekly shows, branch those off into their own YouTube page, but still able to find all your source and of material and videos and things like that still on A Plus Opinions. I'm feeling like the next step is probably going to be maybe like an actual website for A Plus Opinions where we really can accumulate all of the work that we do around different fandoms. So it definitely a new phase, if you will, for what we're certainly trying to do here and to continue to grow everything. So I certainly hope you guys enjoy how we're switching things up a little bit. And again, if you are following us on Facebook, because we are streaming live to Facebook and Twitch, check out our A Plus Hero Report YouTube page. Again, you can find us A Plus Hero Report, and go ahead and certainly subscribe and follow us there as well, guys. So and listen, if there are any newcomers to our channel, because Stuart did in fact have subscribers at the over those new channels, welcome, man. Thank you very much for certainly sharing your home with A Plus Opinions, and hopefully you guys will definitely continue to support the channel, and hopefully you guys certainly like what you see. So thank you very much, Stuart, for allowing us to do this and to giving us another way to showcase all the stuff that we do, man.
No problem, man. As long as we're back on YouTube, we can hit a wider audience. I'm excited.
Yeah, it feels good, man. It feels good to be back on YouTube, honestly. Like, as much as I enjoy just being able to stream to our Facebook page and Twitch and things like that, there was an element of me that was like scratching, like, man, I got to get back to YouTube, man. I got to get back there, So I'm glad that we got the opportunity to do it, man.
Yeah, definitely.
And hopefully Indy will join us here sometime today. We are doing this a little bit early. Normally we go at 12 noon, but since football season has started, we have decided to go ahead and bump this up at least an hour early for 11 o'clock. So Indy may still be sleeping. For all we know, he may still be crashed out somewhere. But hopefully he'll pop up in here whenever we get the opportunity to. But in the meantime, let's go ahead and give some quick shout outs in here. Who's in the live chat? We got Forever Grin in here, certainly coming through. And of course, we got Bra Man certainly joining us over from Twitch. So thank you very much, guys, for certainly your support, guys. But hey, Stuart, are you ready to go ahead and tackle this week's news, man?
I definitely am.
All right, awesome. Let's do this. And if you don't mind, you can go ahead and handle the banners and stuff, the headlines that come through. But let's go ahead and dive into this, guys. One of the first topics I want to go ahead and talk about is, I feel like we're not getting too much MCU news these days. Considering with everything that's going on with the pandemic, everything certainly has been kind of just placed on hold in the meantime. We do have a couple of big movies that are supposed to be set for the upcoming Phase 4, and one of those particular films is Thor Love and Thunder. We've already seen a couple of our big characters such as Black Widow, Captain America, and Iron Man really all kind of meet their fate to a certain extent, but there is at least one original member that doesn't plan on leaving certainly anytime soon. This actually comes to us from comingsoon.net, letting us know Chris Hemsworth has confirmed that Thor Love and Thunder won't be his last MCU appearance. If you guys were wondering, man, Robert Downey Jr. is gone, Chris Evans is gone, Scarlett's gone. Chris Hemsworth's got to be next, right? Well, it seems as though Chris Hemsworth certainly wants to stick around. He says, during a recent interview with Ella Mann, Chris Hemsworth finally opened up about his future in the MCU when he was asked about his rumored Thor retirement. The 37-year-old Australian actor immediately denied the rumor by clearly expressing his willingness to continue playing the God of Thunder even after Taika Waititi's highly anticipated Love and Thunder. He says, "Are you crazy? I'm not going into any retirement period. Thor is way too young for that. He's only 1,500 years old. It is definitely not a film that I say goodbye to this brand. At least I hope so." He also went on to share his excitement for Taika Waititi's Love and Thunder script, saying, "After reading the script, all I can say is I'm very excited. For sure, there will be a lot of love and a lot of lightning in this production. I'm glad that after all that happened in Avengers Endgame, I'm still a part of the MCU and will continue the story of Thor. Of course, I can't tell you anything about the plot, but to satisfy your curiosity, I'll say that I had a lot more fun reading the script than Thor Ragnarok. And that proves something, because this movie was in fact brilliant. So big words certainly coming from Chris Hemsworth here, Stuart, in regards to it. Some people I feel like maybe weren't necessarily the biggest fans of Ragnarok, maybe the overexposure to a lot more humor when it comes to the Thor films than we're certainly used to might have turned some people off, but I personally loved it. It's definitely up there with one of my favorite Thor movies. And to hear somebody like Chris Hemsworth talk about the idea that he had more fun reading this script than he certainly did with Ragnarok when it comes to Love and Thunder, that certainly really gets me pumped and excited for what Taika Waititi could potentially do here. So what are your thoughts in regards to what Chris Hemsworth said? And are you glad to hear that he certainly plans on sticking around for quite some time?
Definitely glad to hear we're keeping him for a while. Really surprised to hear that, yeah, he apparently the script for Thor Love and Thunder is that good, but at the same time, yeah, it just gives me something more to look forward to. I also am hoping, though, if this means that he's still sticking around with the MCU, can we please get that as Guardians of the Galaxy movie?
Oh, yeah, that would be pretty neat, right? Like I know James Gunn has come out and said that the next Guardians of the Galaxy movie, the third one, people were hoping that it was going to be titled as Guardians of the Galaxy, but I do believe James Gunn said that it wasn't going to be, but who certainly knows? I just definitely want to see a further collaboration between all those people for sure on screen at one time. So I think that would be brilliant. I'm going to be honest with you though, Stuart, if there's anything that jumped out at me at this article, the fact that Chris Hemsworth is 37 years old. I'm like, I'm 37 years old. What is wrong? Like with the vast difference between the two of us at the age 37 has me rolling, honestly. But listen, I love Chris Hemsworth's sort of enthusiasm about playing this role. Not to say that Chris Evans and Robert Downey Jr. certainly didn't have that enthusiasm, but they clearly felt that their time was up. They clearly felt that, hey, I certainly want to go ahead and move on to other things. But when it comes to a character like Thor, I love the fact that he wants to stick around as long as he does. Like the fact that he even mentions, Thor's only 1,500 years old. Like to me, that kind of screams. The fact that Chris Hemsworth knows that makes me think that maybe he wants to stick around until he's actually King Thor himself. Eye patch, brand new metallic arm or whatever the case may be. I think it was made out of the one of the characters, I can't remember, one of his biggest foes, but anyway, I could easily see Chris Hemsworth sticking around until he's just old man Thor sitting on the throne of a brand new Asgard or something like that, if you will. I really hope that he sticks around. What do you think, though?
I'm sure he will, because yeah, it really does sound like he's really enjoying this role, and the best part is because for the most part, they've done all the arcs they've really needed to do with his character. What's really cool is if he wants to stick around, I'm sure it'd be easy for Marvel to still be able to utilize him as much as he wants to be utilized without like overdoing it, without making it so it's like, okay, we got too many Thor movies now. Like I'm sure like both Chris Hemsworth and Marvel themselves definitely have that understanding with each other that, yeah, we have him in case we ever need him, but at the same time, we don't have to rely on him too much.
Yeah, and I think that would be really great for him. I mean, if he can still keep that importance of a role, but maybe just not highlighted everywhere. I would love to kind of see something along those lines. And really, this is definitely a character I would love to see Chris Hemsworth sort of get older with, honestly. I mean, who knows? I feel like, I don't... let me ask you a question, Stuart. It's sort of like how we view certain characters like a Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man. Like, man, I can't imagine anybody replacing that guy, or like a Hugh Jackman, as Wolverine. Hard to find somebody to replace it. Like you just immediately associate that character with that person. Do you think Chris Hemsworth is at that place as Thor right now? Or do you think it is something that maybe if he does stick around even longer, that he could get to that particular point like a Hugh Jackman or a Robert Downey Jr.? Or do you think Chris Hemsworth is there already?
It's weird. Like, I guess I'd say that Chris Hemsworth is there already. However, I also don't really agree with that kind of idea where it's
Mhm.
like just because one person does a really good job of it, no one else should be allowed to play the role.
I agree with you.
But
I know what you mean.
in terms of like the whole like, yeah, when I think about Thor, when I think about Iron Man, or specifically when I'm reading like a comic book that has Iron Man or Thor in it, yeah, whenever I'm reading the dialogue, their voices do come to my head. So in those terms, yes, I would definitely agree for sure. But I do think that for every character in the MCU, as great of a job as they all do, I do think that if it's handled correctly, having new actors come in and take over those roles still can work out just as well.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you there. I mean, it is just one of those things where it's like, I feel like most people would be like, oh, people always say all the time, Henry Cavill's my Superman. You know what I'm saying? Or like, so and so's my version of this character. Like, I wonder if that would be like if Chris Hemsworth's at that point when people think about Thor, or if he even puts more years into this particular character, if he's gonna walk away and somebody's gonna be like, man, you know what, that's gonna be hard to replace Chris Hemsworth as Thor type of thing. It'll be fascinating to see where his career goes, but this really excites me. The fact that he wants to continue and stick around to be this character going forward certainly gets me excited, and definitely gives me hope for Love and Thunder. Like, I wasn't even necessarily worried about Love and Thunder. Really, my biggest, I don't want to say disappointment, but issue I certainly was dealing with was the return of Natalie Portman. Just hoping that she truly wants to be back and we can really get something fantastic from the Jane Foster character. But outside of that, if it's Taika Waititi, Chris Hemsworth just confirms for me that, like, yep, the script is just as good as I'm hoping that it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, with Taika Waititi behind the whole thing, I'm sure it's going to be a blast.
Yeah, most definitely. But guys, definitely let us know your thoughts in regards to this. Are you happy to hear that Chris Hemsworth really has no plans on leaving the Thor character anytime soon? And what do you think about his thoughts about the Love and Thunder script? Go ahead and let us know your A+ opinions in the live chat, or if you're joining us after the live stream, in the comment section box below, ladies and gentlemen. And with that, guys, we're going to go ahead and transition over into our next topic here. Stuart, we're going to have to put on our nerdy Star Wars hats here for a little bit, man, and do some deep diving here, because I really want to talk about this with you a little bit. The next story, guys, listen, you guys know I'm a big Star Wars fan. I just throw that out there right now. Big Star Wars fan. When it comes to the Star Wars sequel trilogy, I was honestly a really big fan of the first two. I certainly wasn't the biggest fan of Rise of Skywalker and how it wind up wrapping up. It's kind of left a bad taste in my mouth, to be quite honest with you. And it is one of those things where I feel like, even as a Star Wars fan, sometimes I fight with more stuff that I continue to learn, that's kind of happened during the sequel trilogy. I don't want to necessarily call it a debacle, because I'm pretty sure that there are quite some people out there that really enjoyed this trilogy, maybe really enjoyed all three films, and there's certainly not talking against that. I certainly hope that these are a trilogy of films that people certainly did enjoy. For me, though, as a Star Wars fan, it didn't quite just hit home the way that I was certainly hoping for. But I feel like we've been having a lot more actors from the movies, specifically people like John Boyega, who we talked about last week, and now Daisy Ridley is kind of coming out and talking about the Star Wars trilogy, not so much talking out against the trilogy, but just really giving us more additional information, really about how maybe the storylines and the ideas initially might have went, and how things changed. So I want to take a deep dive with you here, Stuart, and talk about this in regards to some of the topics that she brings up. So let's go ahead and dive into this, man. This and next article actually comes to us from the Hollywood Reporter. Daisy Ridley reveals original Rey Kenobi plot in Star Wars. She goes on to say here, it says, the actress says the story behind her character was chaotic amid the changing of directors. It says Daisy Ridley was jerked around with her character a lot more than fans realize while she worked on the latest Star Wars trilogy. Visiting with Josh Gad as he guest hosted Jimmy Kimmel Live on Tuesday, Ridley revealed that at first her character was going to be a descendant of Obi-Wan Kenobi. This is her actual quote. It says, at the beginning, there was toying with an Obi-Wan connection. There were different versions. Then it really went to, it was no one. And then it came to episode 9, and J.J. Abrams pitched me the film and was like, oh, yeah, Palpatine is granddaddy. This is what Daisy Ridley said. She says, then 2 weeks later, it was, oh, we're not sure. So it kept changing. So then, even as we're filming, I wasn't sure what the answer was certainly going to be. And then the article goes on to say it appears Abrams had one idea in mind when he co-wrote and directed Force Awakens, which The Last Jedi writer-director Rian Johnson derailed. Then Abrams had to rethink his original plan amid Johnson's changes when he signed on to Rise of Skywalker. I'm not the biggest fan of that paragraph, honestly, but we'll definitely dive into it. So, and then it says, naturally, Star Wars fans were both surprised and unhappy with the what could have been revelation and took social media to vent. Well, I didn't go to social media to vent, but maybe this is my opportunity to vent a little bit. And I want to go ahead and talk with you in regards to this, Stuart. Give me your thoughts. When you hear this particular story from Daisy Ridley, the idea that the original idea was Rey Kenobi, then it was simply nobody. And then as we get to the Rise of Skywalker, then things start to change. Now it's Palpatine as the granddaddy. Now it's like, oh, you know what? We're not sure. What do you make of this? Do you make this of, hey, they just wanted to keep this secret from Daisy Ridley the whole time? Do you look at this as they really had no clue what they were doing? What does this suggest to you just in general as to how the development of this trilogy certainly went?
Suggests to me that, the same thing that I think I've kind of figured ever since watching The Force Awakens. They just didn't know what they were doing with her character. Like, I know that she does claim that, JJ had the plan of her being Obi-Wan Kenobi's granddaughter, or, having some connection there. I honestly don't even think that was set in stone when J.J. Abrams toyed with that idea, because I've heard like the same thing from Simon Pegg years ago. I think this was like around the release of The Last Jedi, when Simon Pegg was like saying, oh yeah, J.J. Abrams would tell me a couple ideas that he had of who her parents could be. He, like, one day he said, oh, what if she's related to Luke Skywalker? The next day he's like, oh no, he could be a descendant of Obi-Wan Kenobi. This kind of just shows that J.J. Abrams himself, he's a guy who loves mystery, but whenever he writes the mystery, he never knows what the answer is going to be. He writes mysteries for other people to answer the questions for him. It's how he's done it with Lost. It's kind of how the whole Cloverfield franchise ended up working out, is the whole idea of, hey, here's these two completely unrelated movies. How are they related? I don't know. I'll let this random dude figure it out. It's just his way of writing. And, sometimes it works. And I'm not trying to say he's a bad writer or bad director in any way because of this. It's just his writing style, and that's why it comes to no surprise. It kind of felt like with The Last Jedi, they were ready to, go with one specific answer. It looked like they finally had like kind of everything set in stone. And then Rise of Skywalker was kind of the one that once again, changed its mind again. And then this time really decided, we're going to kind of make her related to Palpatine, but not really ish, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I some of the things that I always heard too, and I'm glad you brought that up. That I feel like that's probably one. If there is a complaint, I feel like on J.J. Abrams, it's very much the idea that he always starts off strong, but he never finishes strong, right? Like the idea of creating something, putting something out there, and then letting other people eventually come behind you and kind of finish off what you're doing. So I definitely get you there for sure. And just going back to some of the stories that you've heard, I mean, I feel very much like some of the stories you've heard are the same ones that I've heard. The idea that even something like the idea of Obi-Wan Kenobi being her grandfather, I've heard that idea was originally on the table also, but I also heard the idea, especially from J.J. Abrams himself, I thought from other interviews, that he has said that he believes that Rey really was going to be no one, that the idea of her being no one is what even made her character even more important. The idea that anybody can be a Jedi and have these abilities, right? So I've heard J.J. Abrams talk about that idea, that he even too originally maybe had the idea of just her not being related to anybody. So I know ideas come and go, and changes are always going to kind of be in the script and stuff. So I can see where Daisy Ridley is talking about the idea of like, hey, it probably really was originally supposed to be Kenobi, maybe very early on in the script, of Force Awakens or when they were throwing out ideas and concepts. But I can easily have seen that then slowly becoming the idea of like, you know what, we find it more important to her to be nobody. And I feel like that's probably what the mentality of everything is when you're going into The Force Awakens. I think that's the mentality that JJ certainly had in mind, was for her to be nobody, but at least leaving it open for it to change. Rian Johnson kind of came behind him and even solidified that idea further of it being she is nobody, right? We hear that from Kylo Ren, so continuing on that theme. But I mean, you're hearing those words from Kylo Ren, right? He's a villain. Is Kylo Ren going to tell you the truth anyway? So it kind of even still gives Disney an opening that if they want to change it by the time it gets to episode 9, they certainly can. So I will say this: I'm not going to put the blame on JJ Abrams. I'm not even going to put the blame necessarily on Rian Johnson like this article wants to. I feel like there's a false narrative out there that Rian Johnson came in and just absolutely destroyed everything that JJ Abrams set up. Absolutely not. If you are a writer, you should be able to take whatever J.J. Abrams and Rian Johnson put in store for you and be able to create a cohesive story after that. That's your job. As a writer in Hollywood, you should be smart enough to be able to finish off a story regardless of what's sort of been handed to you. At the end of the day, I'm definitely going to go ahead and blame Disney for this. Disney really should not have changed up their plans. I honestly think that if we had kept the original script of episode 9 that was written by Colin Trevorrow, it probably would have made this trilogy so much more cohesive, continue to follow the idea and the concept of maybe Rey even being nobody. But it really does feel as though Disney, at the end of the day, wind up listening to louder fans and not necessarily sticking with what they originally, I don't want to say originally had plans, because but by hearing everything that's going on, it feels as though there really were no plans. But even the article points out, when you jump into episode 9, now we have a problem all of a sudden. I don't think it's an issue of Rian Johnson messed this up. I really do think it's an issue of, hey, we're listening to some people. They weren't really pleased with The Last Jedi. We need to kind of change things up. That's not Rian Johnson's fault. That's Disney's fault. So for me, I'm going to put most of the blame here on Disney and how they wind up handling this, the lack of planning and really just the lack of commitment that they had towards some of these characters. And I feel like stories like this just continue to show us that, Stuart.
Fully agree. And it's one of those things where, no, I don't think a story needs to have every beat for beat like planned out all the way through, because, otherwise you end up with an ending like Game of Thrones, essentially, where, you had the ending planned out, but because the journey getting there didn't quite turn out the way you expected, it made it so like that ending that you had been planning this whole time just doesn't make any sense anymore. So there are changes you do have to make. Definitely, you got to be flexible in that sense. However, I also feel at the same time they were a little bit too vague on what they were trying to do with this trilogy. I think Disney should have at least had some bullet points down from the beginning. Bringing in new directors for each movie also could have worked, but they should have at least had guidelines, at least like saying, okay, we need to have in this movie introduce this, and this, maybe even like only 3 or 4 like guidelines to it, but something to make it so like it would all feel like, when we got the reveal of Rey's parents, it would make sense. When we got the reveal of or when we got like an arc for Finn, that John Boyega himself says that he didn't really get to have, we could have actually had something for him like that. Same with the other side characters that were really sidelined throughout the trilogy. They all could have really had a really decent arc as well.
Yeah, I mean, I scratch my head and I'm asking myself, like, where was the writer's room? Right? Like, where's the gathering of all the writers and the directors that you have set up to do this, to kind of plot out this trilogy of yours? And so, like, for me, it just kind of disappoints me again, just as a big Star Wars fan. And again, this is coming from a person who really enjoyed The Force Awakens. Like, The Force Awakens is a movie that I can pop in at any time, have a blast watching it, and enjoy it more and more each time I watch it. The Last Jedi, while I don't think it was a great film, I really thought it was solid and really enjoyable, with some amazing aspects to it that really jumped out at me. I don't think it's a perfect film, but I certainly walk away with a deeper appreciation of the Force, the Luke Skywalker character, and things like that. But so for me, it's really the Rise of Skywalker that kind of throws things all over the place, that honestly disappoints me. And again, this is coming from a big Star Wars fan. So to kind of see the idea that Disney purchased this from Lucasfilm and then just immediately thought to themselves dollar bills instead of actually what's the plan going to be, the idea that they really rushed, hey, let's just put out a Star Wars movie now, guys, let's just create a brand new trilogy and just start working on it now. Like, okay, they're not going to be planning or anything like that. So it's just really disappointing that for a franchise that I've come to love, to see it kind of put into hands of Disney and to see just how they treated it originally, just really bums me out, because I've been a really big supporter of a lot of their films. Rogue One is one of my favorite movies that Disney has put out. But when it comes to at least the idea of ending off a trilogy and making something feel coherent and complete, I just really feel as though Disney dropped the ball there. But I will say this, Stuart. I'm not one of those people that, while I'm mad or disappointed, I should say more disappointed in Disney, I'm not one of those people that you're just now going to think that everything they touch is going to be complete trash, right? Because listen, we've gotten The Mandalorian, which I'm looking forward to. We've got an Obi-Wan series we're looking forward to. The High Republic. Like, if anything, the High Republic is teaching me that Disney has learned from their ways of not preparing and are now trying to do their best to prepare for the future. And at least seeing that does give me hope that Disney at least has learned their lesson. What do you think, though?
Well, there is one thing in which I think, and I don't know if it's Disney that did a really good job of this, but it's so weird because we look at the trilogy itself, where I feel like it would be the easiest to plan out, and it would have been the easiest to, stick the landing with, essentially. And that seems to be where everything was kind of ab-libbed in a way. But then you look at all the expanded universe that Disney has started ever since they've kind of taken over the franchise, and it's weird because in that particular aspect of Star Wars, that the Disney era of Star Wars, you have something that you never had before, which is back when the expanded universe existed pre-Disney, you had different writers doing their own things, not really much communication between them. So for the most part, the novels would always try to keep in continuity with each other, but there would be some inevitable continuity errors here and there. However, it's kind of amazing with the Disney expanded universe. Not only are there connections between other novels, but you'll have like novels making connections to let's say Rogue One, for example, Rogue One making reference to Star Wars Rebels, Rebels making references to Clone Wars, all this stuff. That they do such a good job of making sure like the overall expanded universe is solid with very few continuity errors. Like, the biggest one I can think of that fans always bring up is, why is Ahsoka's lightsabers a different color than it was in the novel? But the fact that that's like the only one fans can really like come up with, for the most part, all of the expanded universe that's been done by Disney has been really solid, and it's all felt very fluid with each other. So it's kind of surprising they're able to do all that, because that has to take a lot of planning. That has to take a lot of work to make sure that all is cohesive and all that. So they're able to do that, and it's so weird that they messed it up with the actual trilogy itself, though. So to me, that's like the weird part.
And I definitely agree. It is weird. It's almost very much like, so why didn't we just take those people that have planned this out and really drawn out these stories and put all these pieces together and kept track of stuff? Why didn't we just bring them onto set to kind of help us plan this stuff out accordingly? So you make absolutely a great sense here, man. And so, like, for me, I'm really hoping that going forward, hopefully they've really learned from their lessons. The idea that they're planning out this High Republic, which I have a feeling is going to be maybe one of the new eras that we do dive into when it comes to the movies eventually. I think this is smart on their part to at least be planning this out. But to go back to the idea of the sequel trilogy, let me ask you, Stuart, which would you have preferred? Rey Kenobi? No one? Or are you cool with the idea of her being Palpatine's granddaughter?
See, the Palpatine one would have made the most sense had it been handled differently. I kind of wish, because there was a deleted scene in Star Wars Episode 3 where there was going to be the big twist of Palpatine being Anakin's father, essentially, that he created Anakin with the Force. I think if they had done that exact same thing with Rey, and then like not only it would have been the perfect, they could have had their cake and eaten it too. He could have been her father through the Force, which could have still kept the idea of her actual parents being nobodies, right? But she was also created the same way Anakin Skywalker was created. So in a way, it really does come full circle with the rise of Skywalker, because, that would basically make her a Skywalker if she and Anakin share the same father, essentially. So it really could have been the perfect have your cake and eat it too. But instead they kind of just went with this idea that Palpatine had a kid that no one apparently knew about. And I think that's where it all fell apart.
Yeah, I mean, I do think that Palpatine's storyline certainly could have worked. It just shows you the lack of brainstorming. The fact that literally you can put that storyline together, and Lucasfilm wasn't even able to come up with that idea at the beginning of Episode 7. Just at least start planting some seeds and storyline ideas to build up to something like that. Like the fact that Lucasfilm really took no brainstorming to really kind of flesh out these stories is a little bit of a bummer. And which even a bigger bummer is that, I can even go back and recall interviews of like Kathleen Kennedy and some other people saying, Palpatine was supposed to be originally the villain the whole entire time, sort of thing. And we've had this plan for a while. Like I've literally heard interviews like that. And I'm like, guys, what you're saying does not match up with what we've seen on screen and what other people are certainly saying. So it's just tell it to us like it is, please. I'd rather you just, instead of throwing me a bunch of BS and smoke screens, man. But for me, I would honestly would have been okay with the idea of her being nobody. I'm sure that, maybe that would have upset some people, because I feel like most people want everybody to be connected in some particular way, it feels like sometimes. But I would have been okay with her being a nobody. But I don't know, man. Anything probably would have just been better than what we did end up getting. But look, ladies and gentlemen, I throw this over to you. These are just our A+ opinions in regards to this. We definitely want to know your thoughts. So now that you know that Daisy really comes out and says, hey, Rey might have been a Kenobi also, and everything that's going on, certainly give us your thoughts in regards to maybe the Rey character, how Disney handled it, and maybe which one do you would have preferred, Kenobi, no one, or Palpatine? Go ahead and let me know your thoughts in the comment section box below, ladies and gentlemen, or the live chat. But yeah, Stuart, I'm just bummed, man. I'm just going to continue this rant real quick, man. But please, I really, because I don't know why I get so butthurt about Rian Johnson being blamed for a lot of this stuff. Like, how do you put any blame on Rian Johnson at all?
No, not really. There's a lot of behind the scenes stuff that we don't know about. And a lot of people really want to fill in those gaps. One of the biggest things, and even though you can look at every single interview with J.J. Abrams, he has never talked negatively about Rian Johnson. And yet everyone wants to say there was behind the scenes drama with him and Rian Johnson. Neither one of them has said that about each other. In fact, anytime you ask J.J. Abrams or Rian Johnson opinions about the other person's movies, they always compliment them. J.J. Abrams does say many times that he was their actual quote from J.J. Abrams, he was jealous of The Last Jedi at one point when he saw the way it was shot, because say what you want about The Last Jedi in terms of story, it's definitely a mess in a lot of areas. I'm not denying that. But it has some of the greatest shots in any Star Wars films ever.
It does.
So I think that's what J.J. Abrams was referring to. It was so beautifully shot and everything. And then you look at Rian Johnson. The moment Rise of Skywalker's teaser came out, he went to Twitter saying, "Man, I just felt like a little child inside just watching this. This is the coolest thing ever. I'm so excited to see how J.J. wraps everything up."
Yeah, it's just disappointing to see how people try and put people against each other sometimes, making things louder than what it really is, maybe reading into what people are saying and twisting their words a little bit to kind of fit their narrative of, oh, this person's being negative towards this person. Like I feel like it happens a lot, honestly, but a lot of these filmmakers really do, it seems like, have each other's back and certainly support each other. And like, you know, I've even seen articles where like George Lucas himself said that he called the Last Jedi a beautiful film. Anything that I've read in regards to Rian Johnson and George Lucas interacting, it's been, you know, George Lucas having some kind words and with Rian Johnson and talking with him after the premiere and things like that. George and him talking on set of The Last Jedi and going over things. Like I've heard some really great things. But yet people tend to want to throw out false narratives sometimes. So my thing is like, look, Disney, regardless of if they plan this movie out or not, Disney saw what Rian Johnson was making and they okayed it. And they put it out in the movie theater. So for me, that tells me that this was one of the directions that Disney was perfectly okay with going with. When you immediately start changing out the director for the last movie and start throwing out that script, that's really when I start kind of getting worried that changes are now going to be made to a trilogy that one wasn't planned properly and seems pretty reactionary to me. And I don't necessarily even think, again, that's not on Rian Johnson's fault. That's not on Rian Johnson. If people didn't enjoy that movie, that's perfectly fine. But as Disney, you have to be committed to this is a story what we want to tell. We got to finish telling it, despite people maybe not liking it in a sense. Now, if you want to do some reshoots, and that's perfectly more than fine, but to completely overreact and switch things up just because of the fact that you knew people were going to react this way to how sensitive that movie was, and you still didn't commit yourself to just continuing to tell that story. When you start backpedaling like that, that's when things start falling apart. And so for me, even the article mentions the idea once episode 9, you can really see the significant changes and they really went off the rail. So I can't put any of that blame on Rian Johnson. I thought he did what he was certainly supposed to do, told the story that everybody was clearly okay with. Until Disney got cold feet, man. So I really hope that we stop all the Rian Johnson blame. I really do.
Same here, definitely.
But anyway, guys, we're gonna go ahead. You know what? We're gonna talk more Star Wars because we can't get enough Star Wars around here. We're gonna go ahead and talk more Star Wars. This one probably even on a little bit more of a lighter note here, because I do love me some Ewan McGregor, man. I mean, you know, while some people certainly feel a certain type of way about the Star Wars prequel trilogy, you know, one of the things out of that trilogy that I really came to appreciate, certainly even more, was Obi-Wan Kenobi. And a lot of that had to do with Ewan McGregor, his incredible performance, and to this day, how much people absolutely love this man as Obi-Wan Kenobi. But we are getting ourselves an Obi-Wan Kenobi limited series here. And recently, we actually just had Ewan McGregor come out and speak in regards to this. And so this comes to us from slashfilm.com, where it says Obi-Wan Kenobi Disney Plus series will be 1 season and begin filming in 2021. So this quote is pretty short, to be honest with you, but it just says here, it says, in a recent interview he conducted with Entertainment Online, McGregor confirmed that the upcoming untitled Obi-Wan Kenobi TV series will only be 1 season long, but perhaps if the series is a hit for Disney, he left the possibilities out for more. Literally, this is his comment. He says, as I understand, it's a standalone season. We'll see. Who knows? It does say here that McGregor also confirmed that we won't have to wait too much longer for the show itself. It does say spring next year is actually when we start, as McGregor revealed of the production plans. I'm really excited about it. It's going to be great, I think. I love that he ends it off with, I think. Hopefully, you know, Ewan. But yes, hopefully it certainly will be. But yes, Ewan McGregor has confirmed spring of next year that they're certainly going to start, and that it is in fact going to be just a standalone season. Now, to me at least, Stuart, this really doesn't come as much of a surprise to me, simply because of the fact that anytime that they've sort of announced this Obi-Wan Kenobi series, I feel like everybody's always said limited series. I feel like even in some interviews that I've read, Kathleen Kennedy has kind of clarified it before in regards to a limited series. So I mean, who knows? Maybe limited series to some people are thinking like at least 2, at least 3. But I can easily see this being sort of like a one-off. And the only reason why I say that is, Obi-Wan Kenobi is one of those main characters in the Star Wars universe that maybe you don't necessarily want to touch too much, even though a fan like me is like, give me all the Obi-Wan Kenobi you can as Ewan McGregor, please. I'll definitely take it. But considering just the time period that we're focusing on, I mean, it's about like an 18-year time gap. Maybe a 6-episode limited series certainly makes sense to me. Especially if maybe they're going to be like hour-long episodes, I would be completely okay with that. 6 hours of a new Obi-Wan Kenobi adventure, certainly count me in. But I will say this, while the plan right now is at least 1 season, which I would be okay with, I know for as a fan, I definitely would want more. But I can easily see Disney even changing direction. Like, because of the fact that we have ourselves an 18-year gap, the idea of telling maybe just one Obi-Wan story in there, I feel like if this series is great, I mean, if it's like Mandalorian great, where everybody's talking about it, I feel like there's such a big gap in time. You could easily tell other Obi-Wan Kenobi stories if you certainly want to. But I would, if anything, maybe still keep it to that limited series aspect, but maybe like 2 or 3 seasons. I don't know if I would want more than that. I don't want to say to oversaturate Star Wars with Obi-Wan, but again, he's still such an important character. I would want to focus on the really pivotal moments of his life and not just have it become an action adventure show each and every week type of thing. You know what I mean? So I would be okay if it's just 1 season, but I would be surprised if Disney's okay with the idea of keeping it 1 season, especially if it's successful. But what do you think here, Stuart, in regards to this idea?
I fully agree. I also really hope it kind of just is a one-off show and that's it. Because, as much as I love Obi-Wan Kenobi as a character, I don't feel like there's that much of a story that needs to be told of what happened to him in between episodes 3 and 4. I feel like you can definitely fit in maybe a story or 2. So if they wanted to go for a season 2, it's possible. But I think for the most part, like, I'd be satisfied, honestly, with just 1 season of 6 to 8 episodes, just telling us a story of, like, whether it's done episodically or as like one cohesive narrative. Like, I'm cool either way, and I think that's all we really need from it. I don't think it needs to be a multiple season TV series, especially when you have like a lot of other stories in that Star Wars universe that could be told that Disney could be putting their money towards.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree there. And even to kind of back that up a little bit, even though there is a wide gap there in the 18 years, it is one of those things where, how much time would Obi-Wan even want to leave the side of Luke Skywalker, right? Like, I mean, when we come into him in episode 4, we just kind of assume this guy's been sort of a hermit, just kind of living amongst the sand dunes, protecting and looking over Luke Skywalker. So I can see the idea of maybe Obi-Wan being reluctant to even leave Tatooine sort of in the first place over that expanded time period. So the idea of us even getting like 1 season of an Obi-Wan Kenobi would certainly make sense to me. Like, if he absolutely has to leave, because if he does have to leave, I don't see it being very many times, to be quite honest with you. So I do feel it's probably perfectly okay to tell at least 1 or 2, maybe even 3 great Obi-Wan Kenobi stories. Because I just don't see him. I just don't see many things pulling him away from his protection of Luke Skywalker. But who knows, man? Do you think I would not be surprised? I'm pretty sure we'll probably be casting ourselves a young Luke Skywalker. I'm wondering if they're going to get the guy that played Owen Lars to reprise his role. Do you recall the actor's name off the top of your head?
I do not. You're talking about the one that played him in episode 3, though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He went on because he's a big character too. He's a big actor now too. Joel Edgerton. There we go. Joel
Edgerton.
Edgerton.
Oh, I
Yeah.
didn't know he was the one that played him. Okay, yeah.
I would.
I mean, they definitely could get him back. I'm pretty sure.
I would honestly absolutely love that. I'm wondering, like, when it comes to this Kenobi series, I do wonder, like, is he ever going to take Luke Skywalker off the planet with him? Are we going to get a Hayden Christensen return as Darth Vader? Like, give it all to me, man. I want to see it all, to be quite honest with you.
I always have to say rumor, because I've come across so many times where fans will say, oh, this is for sure happening in this series. And of course it doesn't. And then they get all pissed off and say we were lied to, even though, no, these were just rumors to begin with. It's what happened in episode 9. Like, everyone thought for sure these things were going to happen, and of course they didn't. But anyways, the biggest rumor about the Kenobi series is that there are supposed to be flashbacks to the Clone Wars, and in which we will see Hayden Christensen and Ewan McGregor in the actual like outfits from the Clone Wars cartoon series. What? So if that ends up happening, ooh, that'll not gonna lie, I'll be jumping out of my seat if that happens. But
I hope that is a rumor that comes true, man.
Yeah. I want to specify rumor though, so just in case that ends up not being true.
I mean, who knows, man? Listen, what they're doing with live action now, The Mandalorian, I think, just opened up a huge toy box of possibilities, like a big treasure chest of just greatness. I mean, the fact that we're even getting characters like a live action Ahsoka in Mandalorian season 2, like the fact that we're getting these cartoon characters and expanded upon in live action series, and we're making these connections and things like that, that honestly would not come as a shock to me if they were to pull something off like that. Even if we didn't get anything like that, honestly, if I can just get Hayden Christensen to just come back in some way, shape, or form, I would be completely happy with it, honestly. But yeah, I'm eager for this. It does seem as though they're going to be planning, again, going filming spring of 2021. And this, again, Stuart, this kind of even backs up further the idea of, can Disney learn from its past mistakes, right? You know, when things get delayed or when things get pushed back, or people hear the idea of, hey, we got to rewrite the script, or we're reworking the scripts, I feel like the first initial thought is, oh, there we go, Disney's messing up again. They're all effing up again, right? But to me, especially during this pandemic time, I feel like this really gives Disney the opportunity to pump the brakes on a lot of things and to be like, hey, if we thought that what we had was golden, maybe we should revisit some of these scripts and kind of tell ourselves, how can we make these series and these stories better than what they are? And so while I think a lot of us were assuming that Obi-Wan Kenobi was going to be filming already, probably very earlier on this year, because we had heard stories like, yep, the scripts are done, scripts look great, we're ready to go ahead and filming soon. I think the fact that now that they have pushed filming back to spring 2021, I really do think that this benefits Star Wars in general, or just Disney, I should say, in regards to maybe making sure that, yeah, what we have here is golden. We're 100% positive about what we have. And now we're going to certainly take our time prepping and getting things ready so that we are ready to go come spring of 2021. Again, things like this kind of show me that maybe Disney is on the path of doing things a little bit differently now, better preparing. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm, definitely. Plus, to my opinion, like, I think that for Disney, in terms of, again, the expanded universe kind of stuff, I feel like they've kind of always known what they were doing with that kind of in that aspect of Star Wars. So that's why when it comes to them announcing like new TV shows and new like cartoons or new comic books, I'm usually optimistic about that, because I'm like, yeah, they've shown that they know what they're doing in the past. So, it's why I'm pretty sure with this Kenobi series, especially with who's going to be directing each episode, I think
Deborah Chow, right?
Yeah, she was the one that directed one of my favorite episodes of The Mandalorian. But yeah, I think Disney definitely seems to know what they're doing overall when it comes to the expanded universe. So I look forward to seeing what they do with Obi-Wan's story. Like, part of me is kind of hoping that they just recreate the very last scene from Star Wars, his scene from Star Wars Rebel as like the ending of the series. But who knows? Definitely, cool. Who knows?
that would definitely would be cool. Yeah, man. We will definitely see what happens here. But I agree with you. Like, my thing would be, I'm hoping that Disney has seen the success of what they've been able to create with The Mandalorian. And I know I might upset some people when I say this, while we give a ton of credit to Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau, deservedly so, let's also give a little bit credit to Kathleen Kennedy, who has been shots fired at her a thousand times over the years for everything that's been going on with the trilogy. But it is her who's deciding who gets to put these series in place and together, and putting these pieces together to at least help Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni at least kick things off. So I'm hoping that, like, when it comes to the television series, I'm hoping that they're paying attention, that what they're doing here is working. The idea of getting brains like Jon Favreau and a Dave Filoni even more involved, getting them even more experience. I'm hoping that they take what they've learned here with the television series and are hopefully using that same concept and ideas, and maybe even some of those same people that are super knowledgeable about this stuff. Hopefully that'll translate now into the movies going forward, when they see the success of, wow, look what they've done with this television side of things, So that's what I'm keeping my fingers crossed for.
Yeah, fully agree.
But guys, listen, let us know your thoughts in regards to this. Now that you know Obi-Wan Kenobi gonna be filming spring 2021, possibly right now, just one season. Are you perfectly okay with that? Would you like to see more? Definitely go ahead and let us know your thoughts in regards to your anticipation for this upcoming series, ladies and gentlemen. And with that out of the way, let's go ahead and tackle. We got 3 more topics here. We're gonna transfer over to some DC talk for you, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to start off with the not so good news first. Let's get this one out of the way, man. This should come as no surprise, ladies and gentlemen, especially considering just the time period in which we're living in right now, with theaters being limited in their opening as of this moment. One of the big movies that we certainly were going to be getting this year that has been delayed several times is, in fact, Wonder Woman. And unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, we've got another delay here. We got another delay. This comes to us from Variety.com. Wonder Woman 1984 release date has been pushed to Christmas. It says Warner Brothers has postponed the release of Wonder Woman 1984, the latest development in Hollywood's rocky plans to return to the movies. The superhero sequel starring Gal Gadot, which was expected to debut on October 2nd, will now touch down in theaters December 25th, literally on Christmas. This is a couple of quotes for a couple of people from WB. It says, Patty is an exceptional filmmaker, and with Wonder Woman 1984, she has delivered an incredibly dynamic film that moviegoers of all ages around the world will absolutely love. That's from Toby Emmerich, Warner Brothers motion picture group chairman. He says, very proud of the film and look forward to bringing it to audiences for the holidays. And Patty Jenkins herself had something to say. She says, first and foremost, let me say how much Gal and I love all of our devoted Wonder Woman fans around the world, and your excitement for Wonder Woman 84 couldn't make us happier or more eager for you to see the movie, because I know how important it is to bring this movie to you on the big screen when all of us can share the experience together. I'm hopeful you won't mind waiting just a little bit longer with the new date on Christmas Day. We can't wait to spend the holidays with you. And I'm gonna be honest here, Stuart, when it comes to this, I think the move is pretty smart on their part. I feel like, especially during I feel like Christmas, and I don't know if Christmas time has always been like this, but I feel like over maybe the past a few years, maybe the past maybe 6-8 years or so, I've really been feeling like December, or at least Christmas time, has really become a really great time to drop some of these big sort of blockbuster films. Now, I know this wasn't when it was originally scheduled to certainly go ahead and drop, but I feel like if you're going to take advantage of any sort of holiday season, especially in the time period that we're living in, Christmas is probably one of the probably the best time to certainly go about in doing so. So let me ask you, Stuart, what are your thoughts in regards to Wonder Woman 1984 being pushed back to Christmas? Do you think it's a smart move? Are you a little bit disappointed? What are your thoughts in regards to it?
Yeah, I think for the most part, it's a smart move. The thing that's disappointing me currently about everything going on right now, I would just rather at this point, companies just straight up, like Warner Brothers and Disney, just straight up saying we don't have a release date for these movies, because it feels like every time I think there's a set one, they keep moving it back again. So it's like every time you mark your calendar, you're like, oh nope, never mind, it's going to be over here. Because yeah, I think that we're still, and I think I bring this up every time like the pandemic kind of comes up in one of our topics, is that we still don't know when this is going to end and when things are going to go back to normal, when theaters are going to be opening up and people can go to movie theaters again, or when people are going to feel safe about going to movie theaters again, I should say, because I guess in some areas theaters have opened up, but still they're not doing very good because no one really wants to risk getting COVID right now. So I kind of wish more companies would do what Sony is currently doing, because Sony has said that they're not going to be releasing any of their movies until the pandemic is under control. So, I think that Warner Brothers and Disney, if they end up having to put like another delay on any more of their films, that should just be their next step, is just saying, okay, guys, we honestly don't know when they're going to be released. We're going to wait until this pandemic is over, and then we'll announce an official release date.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up too what Sony was that Sony did make that comment. To clarify, I believe that they did say their big blockbuster films, they weren't certainly going to go ahead and release yet, or like we're holding them off indefinitely, which I wouldn't blame them if other companies wind up doing something along those lines, at least until they know a little bit more. Now, I believe movie theaters right now are at least open at like 30% capacity, maybe even 50% capacity right now. I'm not quite sure. So people are at least going back to the movies. Like for Warner Brothers Tenet did get the opportunity to go ahead and release worldwide. I believe on its first weekend, it probably made about $200 million worldwide. Let me even see if I can pull that up. Box Office Mojo, which granted, the movie itself cost them about $200 million, if not maybe even a little bit more, to be honest with you, for them to make. But I feel like the studio itself was pretty okay with maybe what it's made so far. So let's see here. Let me see if I can pull this up. It says, oh, worldwide, it says only 150 million. The other places I was reading was like $200 million. It doesn't really even give me what the budget is here, but that's a Christopher Nolan film by Warner Brothers that's opening up 30% capacity here in the United States and internationally where theaters are open. Also, like when I look at something like this, yeah, I don't want to put my movie out. Like I would not want to put my movie out when I spent $200 million and I'm not even going to make that money back. Right. I mean, so it definitely would make sense here for them to definitely go ahead and delay it. But I'm kind of with you now, Stuart. I mean, considering the fact that we really don't know when things are either going to get back to normal or when things are going to get better. Yeah, put things on an indefinite hold in the meantime. I think if anything, maybe the reason why they haven't done that, I'm wondering if it's because maybe there's like a race for certain companies with all the delays of locking down a release date, right? Like maybe the idea of so many films being taken off the docket, if you hold on to your stuff too much without announcing a date, maybe before you know it, other companies may place their films there, you know what I mean, and may lock up certain time periods that you were really kind of hoping for. So I'm wondering if that's maybe one of the reasons why they keep moving these dates, so they can at least lock something up just in case, instead of maybe missing out on another release date window. But I mean, that's the only other thing I could think of.
Yeah, like I could see that. I could see them definitely wanting to lock this date totally. I just think announcing it this early was a bit of a mistake. I think they should have, I think in general, like what they should have announced is that we have moved the release date, to a specific time without actually specifying when it's going to be, just in case things go wrong again. And like probably let people know that too. Like, even though we have a date set for it, it's not a specific date because we know that it might have to move again. And then again, not just Warner Brothers. I think Disney should do this too, because we still don't know, for sure if we're going to be seeing Black Widow this year, or if that's going to. Because I think didn't they already delay that till next year as well?
I believe so. I feel like I feel like when it comes to Marvel, everything, well, I don't even know if they, I honestly don't think so. I think they still have Black Widow planned right now for November. I
Oh,
don't believe
okay.
I've heard anything planned as of yet. I was hoping that they would, at least so that they can um push this over until like everything. Hey, January 2021, guys, is our new start date for everything, right? Like let's just start off fresh. But yeah, I haven't heard anything change though.
I can tell you this though. If it ends up being like the pandemic does end, like people are hoping, like by the time next year starts, next year's January might be the first year where January does actually really well for movies.
Oh, right. I mean, because
Yeah.
we're so used to January being the like January and February being like the throwaway months where they throw like the trash of movies. These could be like the biggest January and February movies ever. Man, that'd be great, man.
Mm.
Show January some love for sure. But guys, definitely let us know your thoughts in regards to this. You know, what's a bummer to me, Stuart, is that this movie should have been out already, man. Like they really they did delay it originally, which kind of surprised me, even though the movie was kind of ready to go. This movie should have been released already, so it's a little bit of a bummer that by them pushing it, they kind of pushed their release date into the pandemic, and now they have to keep pushing it back further and further. So this is definitely a movie that I want to see truly only on the big screen, to be quite honest with you. So hopefully we'll get that opportunity to do so. But guys, definitely let us know your thoughts. Listen, have you guys gone to the movies yet? Have you been ducking and dodging COVID at the movie theaters? Definitely go ahead and let us know if you've been out to the theaters, and of course your thoughts in regards to them delaying Wonder Woman 1984.
For me, there is one theater that in my area where if it opened up, it's the only theater I would totally trust to go during COVID-19 because it's the Alamo Draft House, which there's a few of them like sprinkled around the country, but essentially the seats are so far spread out apart already. So the idea of going into one of those at half capacity, and the website themselves, like the way they had it on their website is they were even asking customers, for suggestions on, they like gave a list of things they were going to do, which seems like, enough. But then they also have like a whole comment section where please let us know, if you guys have any suggestions on what else we can do to like improve, your safety concerns and all that kind of stuff. So I feel like, yeah, that's the only theater I would really trust right now. And that's like in the entire Bay Area. That's one theater.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't really even checked out, like, because of the fact that I haven't been to the movie theaters yet, I haven't really checked out to see what precautions that they've kind of taken in regards to it. I mean, I've been on their website to kind of see, to read what they're doing, but I haven't actually been there in person to see really how they're implementing some of the changes. I just know that when I have looked at like the purchasing seats ticket, like the purchasing tickets area online, you get to select your seats. It does seem as though they're like like whatever seats you pick, they're automatically like blocking out sort of like other seats around you to kind of help fill in some of that capacity to keep people socially distanced. So guys, if you guys have had the opportunity to go back to a theater, definitely let me know how that was set up for you. Was there space in between? Did you guys have blocking? Was the theater, what kind of capacity was it at? Definitely go ahead and let us know some of your guys' experience if you've been out to the theater so far.
I would say this though, just having worked with Cinemark and then knowing what a lot of other businesses in general are doing, wouldn't personally trust Cinemark, especially like it's currently not uncommon for a lot of businesses to like not be taking the right safety precautions, and then on top of that, I'm going to sound like a government conspiracy theorist here. I'm not. I swear to God, this is like actually coming from real, like, articles that these are legit. This isn't me just like being all paranoid, but essentially they've been doing unsafety precautions and then threatening to fire employees that speak out, essentially. And the thing about Cinemark is I could see them doing that as well, having worked for Cinemark for a long time.
That's crazy. That's crazy. Yeah, I haven't read any of the stories, but man, I'll have to do a deep dive into that for sure. Because I know some people really just don't feel safe right now going out to the movie theaters. But I can't lie, a part of me has been contemplating it for sure. I definitely have been. And even like the ticket prices, I feel like might have even gone up a little bit more. But then again, it's been forever because since I use the AMC A-list stuff, the membership, I barely even look at prices now for tickets because of the fact that I just dropped my 20 to 30 bucks a month or something like that and can just kind of go. But like just when I went to go see what movies and tickets were available, I'm like, damn, I got to pay that much just to go to a movie now. So I don't even remember it being that expensive. So I'm not sure if it's just naturally that expensive or if they're making increases because of some of the safety precautions they've had to put in place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, not sure, honestly, because I haven't gone out to a theater either.
But guys, listen, definitely let us know your thoughts in regards to this. And we got 2 more topics to go ahead and talk about. So let's go ahead and wrap these up, Stuart. The next topic that we're definitely going to go ahead and talk about, and here's, I don't know if you guys had the opportunity to check out Doom Patrol yet. It's definitely a show, not only that we certainly review here for A+ Hero Report and A+ Opinions, but one that we definitely recommend for everybody to certainly check out. Now, Doom Patrol certainly was a television series that started out as a DC Universe original series, but since its popularity has certainly grown, since the introduction to HBO Max, we did end up getting Doom Patrol also simulcast on HBO Max for its 2nd season. Well, guys, we have ourselves a season 3 that's coming, and not just season 3 that's going to be arriving, but it's also going to be arriving on HBO Max. This is coming from comingsoon.net. Doom Patrol renewed for season 3 at HBO. It says HBO Max has officially renewed Doom Patrol for a 3rd season, with the series moving exclusively to the streamer for the new season. New episodes of the series will no longer run on DC Universe, where the show first premiered in February 2019 before 2002 streamed on both platforms this year. And so this actually comes to us from the Doom Patrol Twitter page with a little of an announcement here for season 3. It does say, on behalf of the wonderful cast, writers, and crew, we are thrilled and grateful for the opportunity to return to Doom Manor, and we're especially thankful for our partners at Berlanti Productions and yada, yada, yada. It says Doom Patrol came to the HBO with an already deep and passionate fan base and has risen to the top as one of the most watched Max originals on the platform. This series sits well in our portfolio, and we are glad to greenlit a 3rd season to continue the distinctive style of storytelling that resonates as well with critics and fans alike. This is a brilliant move here by HBO Max and Warner Brothers. I feel like we've known for a while now that DC Universe really is set to kind of meet its demise, or at least change, if you will, from what it certainly used to be. I believe it was Jim Lee or somebody else recently came out and said a lot of the original series from DC Universe would be transitioning over here to HBO Max. And I think this is just a smart move on their part. It does make me wonder about other shows like Titans as to what they're going to do for the upcoming season here. But with the success of Doom Patrol season 2, not only on DC Universe, but especially HBO Max, it definitely makes sense for season 3 to be on the streaming platform, and exclusively now. It definitely feels like a much better home for it, honestly, and also it's bringing eyes, I think, to a rather unique DC property that most people are not too familiar with. So the idea here that people that are getting the opportunity to finally see this show for the first time are really enjoying themselves, and I feel like this is a really perfect fit for Doom Patrol on HBO Max. What do you think here, Stuart?
Fully agree. So I take this personally as confirmation that the DC universe, though, was going to be ending pretty soon. Yeah, or at the very least, it's going in a very different direction. Like I've always kind of mentioned on the show, I kind of hope the website sticks around, even if it becomes like only a comic book or a website just, you know, for fans to interact with each other. I definitely don't want it to like go away for good. But yeah, one thing I will say though about Doom Patrol season 3 being renewed is that when it, like, I kind of figured it was going to happen. but it's one of those things where unless I like see confirmation, there's always like that voice in my head that's saying, "Oh man, they might not happen. It might not get renewed." Especially because with HBO Max, much like with Netflix and then Disney Plus, they don't exactly release their numbers when it comes to viewership. So all you really have to go on is reviews essentially from critics and other fans of the show. But even then, good reviews will only get you so far. In the end, it's all about how many people are actually watching your show. So the fact that it's getting renewed for a third season does tell me that there must be a decent amount of people watching this show, and those people must be all really enjoying it for it to get another season. All of which makes me really excited to see where they go coming next season.
Yeah, I mean, and the idea of like, where do they go from here? I mean, just some of the stuff that they've already tackled in the first two seasons are just mind blowing, and just unlike anything that I think, when you think of a traditional superhero television show, this is not a traditional superhero television show by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, it definitely dives more into like just I don't even know, just the weird, the sci-fi, the I don't even know how to even elaborate on that, man. Like just where it just tackles a ton of different topics that I honestly never would have expected. And I think again, I think when you come into this series, definitely be open-minded for it. But it is a series that I definitely recommend. And you're absolutely right. I think the fact that now that they've moved this over to HBO Max, renewed it for season 3, I think a lot more eyes are certainly on these characters and on this show. And people definitely are now officially recognizing it. And I think this renewal for season 3, especially on HBO Max, just continues to go ahead and show it. So if you have HBO Max, guys, I definitely would recommend checking it out. The first 2 seasons are on there, and it's really not even that long of a series. I can't remember how many episodes we got in season 1. I just know season 2 was only like 9 episodes or something like that, Stuart. So yeah, it's probably very easy to binge for some people. But how are you enjoying your HBO Max in general, Stuart? You have it, right?
Yeah, I still have my HBO Max. I'm still enjoying it because, like, I haven't really run into that many shows to binge anymore since I've kind of like watched all the shows that I've been wanting to. But I've been rewatching South Park, of course. Shut up, I'm not obsessed. But I've been doing that, of course. But then I've also been just watching a bunch of like classic movies that I've never seen before, because I feel like HBO Max, when it comes to a lot of like and I mean like classic films, like it definitely has a really big catalog for that kind of stuff. So if you're, a film buff, I definitely think HBO Max is superior to Netflix and Netflix and Hulu in that aspect.
Yeah, I mean, especially more modern and more current films. Like I literally just watched Queen and Slim a couple weeks ago. A great film. The series that they have on there is pretty incredible. Also, it's a pretty impressive catalog. Like I find myself opening up HBO Max a little bit more. Like I feel like HBO Max and Netflix are really the two apps that I've been using a ton, because I've been really loving some of their series that HBO Max has. There's a new Ridley Scott series, if you're big into sci-fi, called Raised by Wolves, that I'm watching, and I'm really intrigued with. Lovecraft Country on there, which is really odd. It definitely has more like a sci-fi noir feel to it, which if you're into that, definitely check it out. I've kind of fallen off of it. Big Little Lies, which I think is a HBO original series. I mean, the movie catalog is so impressive. The TV series up there are pretty incredible. I was just watching NFL's Hard Knocks for this season on there also. They got a ton of stuff that keeps me coming back for more, honestly. And I love the fact that they have new content, new original series, new original movies and things like that they continue to refreshing. And I'm honestly even loving they've got a just announced section and a leaving soon section also. So if there are movies that you want to go ahead and watch before they leave, because I think that they cycle out different films, I do love that they at least let you know, hey guys, these movies are leaving soon, so if you want to watch them, definitely go ahead and check them out. But I've been really impressed with what they've been able to do with HBO Max so far.
One thing kind of cool though, also with HBO Max, in terms of the movies that end up leaving, it's mostly because like even though it's Warner Brothers, it's not necessarily exclusive to Warner Brother Pictures. They'll still like buy the licensing rights to stream a few Fox movies and a few Disney movies as well. So yeah, just because it's a Warner Brothers company, it's not just limited to that. So I really like that aspect of HBO Max as well.
Yeah, I definitely do too. Guys, we'll definitely see what happens here, but it seems as though the success of Doom Patrol is definitely carrying over to HBO Max for sure. So, listen, if you guys have checked out Doom Patrol, definitely go ahead and give us your thoughts in regards to that particular series, and how thrilled are you that we are in fact going to be returning to these characters with a season 3. So, let us know your A+ opinions in the live chat or the comment section box below, ladies and gentlemen. And last but not least, guys, we got one more story we're going to go ahead and tackle as we get into some DC television talk for you. One that I'm really excited to kind of talk about here, because this is a character that I definitely would love to see certainly return. Comic book resources just recently had an interview with Stephen Amell's brother and Robbie Amell, and he recently opened up a little bit more about the idea of potentially returning to Arrowverse as Firestorm. We didn't get the opportunity to see him very much outside of season 1, but this is what the article says. It says one of the earliest superhero casualties in the Arrowverse was Ronnie Raymond, half of the original Firestorm alongside Dr. Martin Stein. Portrayed by Robbie Amell, the character was merged in the Firestorm Matrix with Stein following the particle accelerator crash at the start of the Flash series, appearing in recurring capacity throughout the first season. Amell's time as a superhero was ultimately cut short, with his character sacrificing his life to save Central City from a singularity in the season 2 premiere. It does go on. He does go on to say that he says, I owe so much to Greg Berlanti and their Arrowverse. I had so much fun playing the characters, what Amell told CBR. I'm super proud of my cousin, and I think he did something amazing. I know he misses it, but at the same time, but it was probably the right time to go. You always want to go out on top. Now, it says, while Ronnie met a definitive end with his heroic sacrifice, the actor remains open to the possibility of returning to the series to reprise his superhero role in the future. So it says, under the right circumstances and provided it doesn't detract from the main cast's participation. So he goes on to say, I would love to go back whenever it works, but there's great people and supporting characters on The Flash. I never want to be the guy who comes in for a couple episodes and steals time away from other people who are deserving of it. I'm still very much in touch with the people who are in charge and Danielle Pennebaker, and I talk on a regular basis. I would love to go back, but who knows when and how. It would have to make sense for everybody. So let me throw this over to you first, Stuart, here. You hear these words from Robbie Amell. What do you think about the idea of him maybe possibly returning as Firestorm? Is that a possibility you would certainly like to see? And what do you think about just his words here about not really wanting to step in on other people's toes for their opportunity? What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think it's really cool that he's open to doing it, but he's not being like an asshole about it. He's not saying, "Oh, they should just bring me back in. I deserve it. I was such a great character." No, I like that he's being very humble about it. Like, yeah, I would like to come back if they want me, but at the same time, I don't want to if it means that I'm like, taking screen time from someone else who, was supposed to have that screen time. So I really like that. But yeah, I feel like the Arrowverse, and I don't just mean like for the Flash, I mean like for all the Arrowverse shows, there's plenty of opportunities where if they wanted to bring it back, they totally couldn't. It'd be really easy to explain away. Crisis on Infinite Earths, there you go. That's the only explanation you need. So like, yeah, I think personally, I think he'd make a perfect supporting character for Legends of Tomorrow if they ever wanted to bring back a Firestorm character, like if they wanted to bring the character back, but instead of having it being like him and Professor Stein, maybe having it be him and Jefferson was the name of the other Firestorm, right?
I call it Jax.
Jax.
I believe it might have been his last name, maybe.
Yeah. I would like the idea of like the two of them coming back, as the new Firestorm. So maybe it like rotates which one of them actually has control anytime they fuse. Like I think something like that could be really cool. But yeah, like the idea of him coming back to the Arrowverse would totally make sense in any context that they would want to do it.
Yeah, I think if you want to pull this off, now is probably as best of a time to certainly do it. I think it definitely would make sense. Like you said, crisis. That's the only explanation you need. Like we literally have created a brand new world and new. I don't necessarily say new timelines, but the fact that we've kind of created, still have ourselves a multiverse, Earth Prime now. It's a prime time to certainly go ahead and bring back Robbie Amell if they want to. I think his connection also, him being the brother of Stephen Amell, would probably be even more meaningful to even have him back and included in the Arrowverse after everything that his brother has kind of helped build. And while I don't want to say I wasn't always the biggest Ronnie fan, it's just he wasn't around long enough for me to truly get on board with him. Like when I think of who my Firestorm is, it always goes to Jackson and Dr. Stein together. I honestly always love that relationship, and something that grew on me. Like the death of Dr. Stein like crushed me, man. I'm like, no, don't do this to me, guys. Like Firestorm was always one of my favorite characters. So like for me, I don't know what Robbie Amell's got on his calendar. Like I don't know what his filming schedule is looking like, if he's got any movies lined up or whatever the case may be. But I would say bring him back in. And I would agree with you too, Stuart. Like I love his humbleness. This almost kind of reminds me of like something that I wish older professional wrestlers would kind of follow in his footsteps here. The idea of like, maybe I shouldn't come back. So the idea of like having everybody else be able, the younger generation or the current stars to be able to get their shine. So I appreciate the idea that he's very understanding that like a lot of these opportunities don't come for everybody, right? And I've had my opportunity to be on this show, and other people are now just getting that chance. So I should be able to allow them to shine a little bit more. But while you are being humble, Robbie Amell, let's make no mistake, your character certainly would make sense to be back. It definitely would make sense to, if they wanted to give Ronnie Raymond an even bigger role. And considering who you are now, Robbie, it would definitely make sense. And I don't necessarily think people would be too totally upset about it, because for me, I do feel like we need a Firestorm in this DC universe of ours here on the television show. I really would love to see just a return to this character. So I really do hope that somebody's listening and hearing Robbie Amell here and being like, hey, you know what? We would love to bring you back. I was thinking Legends of Tomorrow also, to be quite honest with you. I don't know if I would have him on the Flash. But who knows? Maybe with the departure of somebody like an elongated man, maybe you need that additional supporting character. So maybe he would kind of fit perfectly in there. But regardless, I hope that this truly happens. I appreciate Robbie Amell's humbleness and wanting to give other people the shine. But I would love to see you shine too, Robbie Amell. So please come back to the DCTV universe, the Berlanti universe, if you will. I need me some Firestorm, man. I really do.
Yeah. And then like on top of that too, if they wanted to, going back to like the idea of if he were to return to the Flash, there is like the whole thing where it does seem like, and I don't want to like try to say like this is confirmed or anything like that. It just kind of feels this way, like with all the characters they've been introducing, that they might be slowly easing Cisco and Caitlin Snow out of the show. So I feel like if they're doing that, because she used to be dating. In fact, they were engaged, I think, before the particle accelerator exploded. If they wanted to bring back Ronnie's Firestorm, like that could be the perfect way for Caitlin to leave. It's like the two of them like leave together. Essentially, it could be a good way to retire her character from the Flash TV show.
Hey, I love that idea, man. Coming in full circle finally after everything that's happened. With her life, past loves that she's currently had and unfortunately failed. Like I would love to see a reunion here between her and Ronnie. That would be pretty incredible, man. So I love that idea. So yeah, I think the possibilities are endless here, man. I hope that this is something that winds up happening, because I do think that right now they could probably, I don't want to say the DC television universe could certainly use him, but I feel like somebody that talented like a Robbie Amell, who's been a part of this world before, if he's got nothing on his docket, guys, bring him back in. Maybe another member to our DCTV Justice League that they're kind of forming. Like for me, I really love your idea of like if we want to bring him back, but maybe not keep him around forever. The idea of him returning for a storyline with Danielle Panabaker, I think would be great if they wanted to maybe wrap up the arc for him and her. But I have plans for Robbie Amell to stick around, man. I need a Firestorm in this universe. Stick around, please. So we'll definitely see what happens. But guys, listen, those are just our A+ opinions. We want to know your thoughts. Would you love to see a return to Robbie Amell as Firestorm? Not so much. Let me know your thoughts in there too. And I do hope that if he does come, I would love to see him and Jax meld to go ahead and give us a new version of Firestorm. I think that would be fantastic.
Definitely.
But yeah, guys, go ahead and give us your thoughts in the live chat or the comment section box below. And with that, that's actually going to wrap up all of our stories here this week, Stuart. So if anything, I don't think let's go to some live viewer questions here. I don't think we've got too many. Let's go to the comment section and see if we can just pick out a couple things here. Quick shout out also to Shadow Nova Productions for certainly coming through today. Forever Grin does say here, he says, I love the Thor movies. I just forget Dark World. Yeah, I think a lot of us try to forget Dark World, but I do love the what Avengers Endgame did, because as much of it being a movie that I tried to ignore and forget and just move past, Endgame almost makes you now have to watch that movie. Endgame, yeah, just everything with the ether and going back. Like I know they give you like a little brief recaps of what happened with Thor's recap. This greed sludge found its way inside of Jane. It kind of makes Dark World an important film to watch. I try and forget it too, though.
But it was funny. I don't know if this was a quote from Kevin Feige, but it was from some producer at Marvel. But someone was asking why there's a fourth Thor movie coming out. And the response was, oh, because all the superheroes deserve a trilogy and Thor Dark World doesn't count.
I love it. That was a great response. I love it.
I think this was in regards to when we were talking about Star Wars. We forget that directors are a completely different branch of production. The executive producers and writers and editors are the ones that have the most control of the story. Like true for the most part, but I think in the case of, if I'm not mistaken, in the case of both The Last Jedi and Force Awakens, the directors in this particular case were actually co-writers of the movie. Like I know that both of them had like another writer on it, but for the most part they did have creative control over it. Plus, like as a director, as long as your producers are okay with it, you can make changes to the script like as you're filming, which happens a lot, especially with like the big budget movies.
Yeah, I think you answered that perfectly. Shadow Nova does ask, isn't Christian Bale in Love and Thunder? Yeah, from everything that I've heard.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, from everything that I've heard, he definitely has been announced for this movie, because there was some speculation very early on as to who he's going to be playing. They've never confirmed it as of yet as to who he will be portraying. I've been throwing things out there like the Minotaur. I believe he's like the president of Roxxon Industries, if I'm not mistaken. Really cool, slick back hair guy, shades, and I think he winds up turning into a Minotaur. That was one of my suggestions. I know there's quite a few out there as to who Christian Bale will be playing, but I have definitely heard that he's in this film, but they just haven't revealed as to who he's playing yet.
Saw something.
First off, I just want to real quick to shout out to Anita for certainly joining us over from Facebook. And Forever Grin also says sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, and Lost and Rise of Skywalker doesn't work. I wanted to put this up because I love me some Lost. Me and the girlfriend are actually doing a little bit of a marathon here for Lost. I know some people weren't the biggest fans of I feel like people were fans of the series. They weren't fans of how the series ended, because I think some people were a little bit disappointed in regards to that. But I feel like I'm one of the few that actually did mind the ending of Lost. Was that a series that you watched, Stuart? And if so, what did you think?
I watched it once. So this was years ago. I want to say this was like back in 2014. My friend and he and I were both like really into film at the time. He was actually my boss at the time too. Funny enough, this was when I first started working at the movie theater. And what we did is over a weekend we went to a cabin that his family owned in the woods, and with the goal of just binging a bunch of TV shows and working on like a Half-Life TV series, a script for a Half-Life TV series, essentially.
Nice.
So the first show we decided to binge was Lost, and we watched the entire first season. And I gotta say, I loved episode 1. I think episode 1 was one of the coolest pilots I've ever seen for any TV show.
I agree.
The rest of the first season I thought was good-ish. I thought it was okay. Like, it had its ups and downs definitely all the way through. And then the ending of season 1 pissed me off so much I never went back to Lost after that. So the moment I saw it was like a puff, like a puff of like cloud of smoke. That was like the big mystery that was like the like ending result to like the mystery that had been building up. I was like, fuck this show.
That's so funny that you say that, man. That's so funny to say, because I'm gonna be honest, the season 2 premiere of Lost had me going ape crazy, man. You know those memes of the guys like, oh, that was me for season 2 premiere when it started, just to show where that massive cliffhanger from the first one sort of leaves you off at. I was a big fan of Lost, man. I honestly loved it all the way up into the end. I mean, to like the final like last 2 seasons do kind of go off the rails a little bit and really start go. I'm like, what is going on in this TV show? But I remember vividly my best friend Jonathan, my friend Maggie, and I can't remember if it was more than just the 3 of us. We went to the theaters because listen, Lost. If you, I don't remember. Did you ever? You didn't watch it live when it came on TV, right, Stuart? You just watched. No. You binged it. Okay. Lost back in the day, just so people are equivalent, understand how big Lost was. This was the Game of Thrones back in the day, was Lost. ABC had never done anything like this before. The idea of like a serialized like weekly show that kept this mystery going on and on and on. And it was a huge hit just worldwide. It was so big, they literally started opening up movie theaters to play the series finale. And so I remember us as a group going to the movie theaters to watch this 2-hour season finale of Lost, and it blew me away. I personally was a fan of the series, but I know some people were a little bit disappointed in it. But I thought it was fantastic. And you know, Forever Green, you say sometimes it works and it doesn't, and Lost is an example of that. I also want to point out that Lost is also an example of that it could have worked out if people weren't greedy. Because if you do read some of the past interviews by J.J. Abrams and even Damon Lindelof, Lost was only supposed to be 3 seasons long. 3 seasons long. And after the success of season 1, ABC even told Damon Lindelof they wanted this show to be at least 10 seasons long. And they literally had to keep negotiating back and forth to shrink the seasons down. So he literally he said, look, we had material all the way up to wrapping up the season in season 3. But because of the fact that we had to keep negotiating with ABC because they wanted 10 years, 7 years, 5 years, we had to kind of come with some sort of in between. So a lot of what you see, like the later halves of the season, I wouldn't say necessarily are last minute scripts and write-ups, but definitely them trying to do their best to stretch out the season as long as they possibly can. So for me, I don't necessarily put that on J.J. Abrams, because again, J.J. definitely, because we talked about that, right, Stuart? He starts something and then lets other people kind of finish it. But this was what happened with Damon Lindelof, the idea that, yes, Lost was supposed to be only 3 seasons, but ABC kind of forced them to force their hand to do more because it was such a big show. It was making them so much money at the time.
One thing I will say though about Lost is, even though I was personally not a big fan of it, I'm really glad that show existed, because yes, it did change what television in general was like in the long run. Because of Lost, like this was the reason that TV producers were like, "Hey, we can give $1 million budget per episode for all these shows, and we can still make our money back." So a lot of really great shows that it came after it, like Breaking Bad, Walking Dead, those shows would not exist had it not been for Lost. Or maybe they would have existed, but they wouldn't have anywhere near the amazing quality that they have had it not been for Lost.
Yeah, so I just wanted to bring that up for Evergreen because I don't really get the opportunity to talk about Lost so much. So I want to kind of talk about it a little bit because it is a series that I was a big fan of. And for me, Lost season 2 is probably one of my all-time favorite seasons of television, period. Like for me, it's up there with like Arrow season 2. It's just really that impressive to me. But it may not be for everybody, but I would definitely recommend giving it a shot, if you will. And what makes it even crazier is like that those are full seasons. Like, I mean, you go back and you watch it, like, because we I don't think we were getting shows like that as much back in the day. I can't remember when Smallville was out, but I feel like drama-based shows like that just weren't that around that much. But I think season 1 had like 25 episodes, but season 1 also had a ton of like 2-hour specials also. So it was definitely a lot to fit in. But if you guys haven't checked out Lost, do yourselves a favor and definitely go ahead and do so. Let's see here. He also says Rey Kenobi because it would have tied everything together from the beginning in regards to like if you had a choice, what would you have preferred? Kenobi, her being nobody, or Palpatine? So thanks for that, Forever Grin.
Ooh, actually, this was this is something that I'm actually kind of looking forward to. It doesn't even have to be a good movie. Just make it really fun, nonsense violence, and I'll be excited.
Should we be getting a trailer soon? Probably not. And the only reason why I say that, like, normally I feel like I would be like, yeah, maybe we'll get a teaser trailer soon or something like that. But just based off of everything, like just all the release dates not being confirmed, I don't know how early movie theaters or movies now want to start marketing their films, right? I feel like it's one of those things. Let's not maybe spend so much money on marketing right now until we know definitively when our movies are coming out. Maybe a teaser trailer, you can still put something out and just say coming soon, maybe Shadow Nova. But as far as like an official trailer, I think they're probably holding off on something like that. What do you think, Stuart?
I don't know. I feel like if the Batman, which was only like 25% done with filming, could have an official trailer, I feel like Mortal Kombat could, because I think they're basically done filming, if I'm not mistaken.
Maybe I'm not sure how the production's gone, but they might be wrapped. I'm not sure.
Mm-hmm. Then, have you guys seen that the Falcon and the Winter Soldier is finally resumed filming in Atlanta? Hopefully, we'll get it by 2020. I actually did not know that.
Have they? Is that? I didn't know that either. I knew that they were planning on it, but I didn't know exactly as to when they were going to start filming. So I might have to look a little bit more into that. But do you think we're going to get it by the end of 2020?
Nope. I feel like this is going to be an early 2021 release at this point.
Yeah, I'm a little bit bummed, man, because I was hoping that maybe we would get something like November, December. But I think you're right. I'm having a feeling it's probably going to be at least maybe January of 2021. But that's cool. I hope that it's filming, and I hope that if filming has resumed, to that they continue to stay safe. I mean, we just saw the Batman filming for 3 days before they had to stop because of COVID situation with Robert Pattinson, who I hope is certainly recovering well. I hope he's doing well over there. But let's keep our fingers crossed that production definitely goes smoothly for them, for sure. Oh, you know what? I meant to bring something else up, Stuart, in regards to when we were talking about Thor. Did you hear that? And it's not related to this story, but did you hear that? Thor is going to be implementing the Mandalorian technology in regards to its filming. That they that gigantic set that they created, the volume as they call it, with all the LED screens and things like that. that they're going to be establishing that in several different um, production studios around the world. And one of them, I believe, is going to be out in Pinewood Studios out in London. But they say it's even going to be more impressive than the one that they have for the Mandalorian set. But I did read that Love and Thunder is going to utilize that technology.
Yes. That's awesome because once something really incredible gets invented, it usually only goes uphill from there. So the fact that they made it for a TV show, or I mean, it was made before that, but they utilized it in a TV show, and now they're taking that same technology and they're using it for like a really huge, what's going to be like a huge budgeted, Marvel movie. Oh my gosh, I can't wait to see what the next Thor movie looks like. It's going to be incredible.
Yeah, I mean, they were even talking about how the ones that they are going to be using and building are going to kind of dwarf what they've already created for the Mandalorian. And I'm like, you just created that 2 years ago. Like, it just, for me, it just showcases like just how fast technology moves and just grows. And the fact that even when I watched the making of the Mandalorian on Disney Plus, and they had that specific episode for the volume, and they showcased it, I was like a kid in a candy store. My eyes were wide open. I was like, wow, they created this. That's so cool. Like the idea of being able to utilize those screens as like internal lighting for yourselves, right? So you don't have to continuously move all these rigs around to kind of get your shading, that you're using sort of the lights from the LEDs and just the surrounding environments and stuff that's creating that artificial light, so they constantly look like they belong in sort of that environment. Like just the technology that Lucasfilm continues to do, because they're usually the pioneers of great technology. The fact that now we're getting an even more impressive version of something I already thought was incredibly impressive on a big budget scale, man, I think honestly, I think this is probably a much safer way for them to keep people safe in regards to filming projects, right? Because now you have something that's a contained environment instead of being out in the open. I mean, granted, I think you'll always love the idea of filming on location, but I feel like for today's time period, this is a really great technology for everybody to kind of take advantage of. Because I got to think it probably saves them money, and they probably don't have to produce so many big set pieces anymore. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that, and I feel like a movie like Thor is the perfect movie to utilize that technology, especially when it's a show that, or it's going to be a movie that takes place in several different worlds that you can't create. You can't physically create these with sets, so it's the perfect opportunity to use that technology.
Yeah, I definitely agree there. I definitely agree with that. So yeah, I did mean to bring that up as part of our Thor story earlier, but yeah. But anyway, I thought that was pretty cool. Let's see here. Shout out to You Are Sexy. This is AJ coming through. He changes his name all the time. I knew there was a reason why I did not miss streaming on YouTube, because AJ every week comes through with a new name. Shadow Nova says, I heard Christian Bale could be playing Gore the God Butcher. Yeah, that's another rumored character that I've been hearing as well. Again, nothing confirmed, but I definitely did hear that.
Oh,
let me look this up. You see that Artie comment?
Yeah, that's what I was like. Ooh, if that is that actually true? Because if so, awesome.
What's his name? John. How do you spell his last name?
John, Mathieson.
Pops up. Yeah, he is a famous cinematographer. I didn't know if it was something announced recently or not, but they've hired him for he was the cinematographer of First Class and Logan, now on Doctor Strange's Multiverse of Madness. I like that idea, honestly. I feel like, especially when it comes to Doctor Strange, if there is anybody that I feel like just the idea of like some of the different environments that we're going to be in, just the type of technology and like just special effects and things that they're going to be using, I feel like you probably do need a really stellar cinematographer to pull off some of what's going to be happening.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, no, I agree.
I'd be down with that.
I'm just like trying to think if I know any of his other work because the name just sounds familiar. But yeah, it also kind of reminded me of a previous rumor that I heard that I still crossing my fingers for. The director of X-Men First Class has been saying that he's interested in directing a Fantastic Four movie for the MCU.
Ooh, who was the First Class director?
I forgot the guy's name, but it's the same guy who did the Kingsman.
Matthew Vaughn.
Yeah.
Vaughn. Yeah, I would be down for that. I would be down for a Matthew Vaughn. Honestly, I would be down for Matthew Vaughn anything if he wanted to do something in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Honestly, I really do love his style. I really do feel as though that his voice when it like his vision was definitely missed in a film like Apocalypse and Dark Phoenix for sure. I really wish that they would have been able to keep him around for sure.
Definitely.
Let's see here. What's the AJ one? He says, this is a live viewer question. What do you think of the Flash rumored on social media by the official Flash page focusing on current real life situations by having Joe West having more to do as a cop? Since Batwoman is already filming, when do you think it will actually air on this CW? And is Stargirl season 3 already filmed before wrapping season 1? What were some of your favorite moments from okay, that's okay, let's focus on the first one first. So
Yeah.
what do you think of the Flash focusing on current real life situations by having Joe West having more to do as a cop? For me, listen, I would love that idea. I can't remember the actor's name that plays Joe West, but I absolutely love his portrayal of the character. And I was just talking about this when I was doing my Black Lightning panel review. The idea that I would love some of these shows to tackle real world situations. Like it works pretty well for Black Lightning because like that's the world, like unfortunately that's the world that African Americans and the Black community deal with on a regular basis. So to see them kind of tackle that stuff on there and be pretty open about it, like it feels very natural for a show like Black Lightning to go ahead and tackle those things. And I have a feeling that they're definitely going to go ahead and continue to do so for this upcoming season. But to be able to utilize somebody like a Joe West who is in such a pivotal role as a police officer, as a Black police officer, no less, that's at the head of Central City PD, I think this would be a really great way for an actor and one of their characters to kind of bring up some of the plight of the Black community and some of the struggles and at least bring awareness to it, especially with just social injustices and things like that. I think Joe West is in a great position here to really have a voice this season if they wanted to. And considering the fact that the showrunner, Eric Wallace, if I believe he's Black, if I'm not mistaken, is African American himself, I can see this easily being a storyline for Joe West. So I definitely hope this is something that they tackle. What about you though, Stuart? Do you think they should keep social issues out of this? Do you think maybe it should only belong on certain shows? Or do you think this would be a good place for him to tackle something like that?
Yeah, I think it would be a great idea. I really get annoyed when people try to say, "Oh, keep your politics or social issues out of my superhero shows." It's like, no. The whole point of like comic books have always tackled social issues. Like sometimes they'll be literal about it. Other times they'll be very metaphorical. Like Supergirl, for example, tends to be very metaphorical about it, but they're also usually very obvious about the metaphors. They don't try to like hide what, metaphors they're using. Whereas Black Lightning is always a lot more direct about it. But yeah, I feel like the Flash is that perfect show where it can do both. It can, it has its episodes where it'll be a little more metaphorical, but it also has its episodes where they'll be straight up very literal on what they're trying to say, very direct about it. So I feel like, yeah, either way they wanted to tackle it, I feel like Joe West is the perfect character to do that with.
Yeah, and Joe West always pulls at my damn heartstrings. Like every time this man talks or have a serious conversations with somebody, I'm like, I'm trying not to cry. Like he's so damn emotional. He always has some great advice, and so I really would love to see just what Joe West would say, as the head of their department how he would really handle his own police department, especially if something like that came up. You know what I mean? I think that would be really important to see, because listen, like you said, I know some people say things like, oh, we don't want politics in our television shows, but listen, there are a ton of people that watch these kind of shows, and maybe there are people out there that like maybe the messages that are sent through these shows will help impact somebody's life, if you will. I mean, it is certainly a family show, and so I know people of all ages definitely watch this. So I think this is a really great platform for them to utilize that, especially for somebody like a Joe West here. So I definitely agree with you. He says, since Batwoman is already filming, when do you think it will actually air on the CW? I don't believe that. They think they just said January right now. I don't think they have an official release date, but I think they're holding off until January 2021 right now. So I'm assuming that's when they plan on starting to do those seasons. And is Stargirl season, I'm assuming he meant to push the number 2. Is Stargirl season 2 already filmed before wrapping of season 1? No, I don't believe so. Right, Stuart? I haven't heard anything like that. Like,
no, they haven't even started on season 2.
What'd you say?
They haven't even started with season 2 yet.
Oh yeah, I mean, I don't even know if script wise if they have it in place, but who certainly knows. And what were some of your favorite moments from Arrow seasons 1 through 8? I don't even know. That's so big. Anything? I would say probably one of my. I don't want to say one of my biggest or favorite moments, but it's probably somewhere in season 2. Man, anything that was like Manu Bennett related, I was a big fan of.
Yeah, I'd say, if I had to choose, like, probably one of my all-time favorite Arrow moments, man, a lot of it would definitely go to the very last episode of season 5, because I feel like the way season 5 almost could have been the last season of Arrow, and I would have been totally satisfied with it. Not saying season 6 through 8 were bad, but just with how amazing of a comeback season 5 was, because season 4 went so downhill. Season 5 was like a breath of fresh air. But yeah, I don't know. I can't think of any particular moments currently, but I could say that if I were to pick some of my top 10 moments in all of Arrow, at least half of it would be from season 5.
Nice. I like it. Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with you there. And I've said this before. Arrow is, for me, I think what's really impressive to me is the fact that it lasted 8 seasons, because this show really felt very much like it was going downhill after season 3 and season 4. And I remember watching season 5 specifically. I feel like the narration going into season 5 was, how good is this season going to be? Like, if this season is crappy again, are we going to even get another show, like another season out of this? So I feel like that was a really big question mark going into season 5, and to see just the turnaround that it wound up making from 5 all the way to 8 was probably one of the more impressive comebacks for a television series that I've seen in a long time. So I definitely always want to give them props to that.
Plus, they had Dolph Lundgren, so how awesome is that?
They definitely did. Shadow Nova says, what's your most anticipated MCU movie, Stuart? Is there MCU movie?
Shang-Chi, definitely.
Who?
Shang-Chi.
Oh, that's a good one, man. That's a good one. Yeah, I've always been really high on the idea of, give me a martial arts MCU film, man. I cannot wait. I'm trying to think, out of all the movies that I honestly want to say Shang-Chi also, but since you said Shang-Chi, I'm probably gonna go with I'll go with the Multiverse of Madness. I feel like I feel like that's probably Indies also. I feel like he's said that before, but I'm gonna go Multiverse of Madness also. I feel like there's a ton of possibilities here. The return of Sam Raimi gets me really excited. The idea that I feel like he's gonna bring in that really unique horror supernatural vibe element to it. I think you can really tap into that really well, and I'm hoping that this leads us into some really dark sort of Scarlet Witch kind of territory, like anything that's going to give me to see more Elizabeth Olsen and Benedict Cumberbatch Patch really do their best to build their characters up more. I think this could be something really, really fun. So give me a Multiverse of Madness. And then last question here. This comes from Jessica Friedman. Which DC hero would you like to see show up in the Arrowverse show? And is there any word on season 3 of Harley Quinn? Have you heard anything recently on Harley Quinn, Stuart?
I swear I just saw something. I think it was an article saying that it was renewed for a third season on HBO Max, along with like a lot of other DC shows. But yeah, it was kind of like the whole article was like mentioning that DC universe was kind of coming to an end, and it was. They also announced that there was going to be another Young Justice season finally. So super hyped for that.
Yeah, they did just announce that Young Justice Phantoms, I believe, is what they called it. To further answer your question here, Jessica, let me pull this up here for you. This was on Screen Rant just yesterday or 2 days ago. Harley Quinn show writer campaigns for season 3 HBO Max renewal. So he's out here talking about it for sure. He says Harley Quinn special season 3, and my friend is named at HBO Max. So it looks like he's trying to get something himself. So it doesn't look like anything is confirmed as of yet, but it does look like he's definitely trying to. I feel like it's probably going to happen though.
And especially because you got James Gunn even backing it up, because I remember him watching it or sending a tweet about watching it, and yeah, him saying, yeah, the show better get a third season.
Nice, I love it. Which DC hero would you like to see show up in the Arrowverse?
My number one personally is still Wonder Woman. Like as cool as it would be to see Batman, we kind of already did see Batman, like even if it was only glimpses of him, so we do know that he exists in the universe. I just really want to see Wonder Woman, and I want to see like kind of not that there's anything wrong with the Gal Gadot version of Wonder Woman, but I want to see like a very different take on Wonder Woman within the Arrowverse.
I like it. I'll give you two heroes here. One, Blue Beetle, and I don't care if it's a Ted Kord or Jaime Reyes. I'll take either of them, honestly. I am leaning a little bit more towards Ted Kord just because I've seen the references in the Arrowverse before, but I would be okay with either. I feel though, and I'm going to bring this up, and even though we already have him on the TV show, I really want to see an Arrowverse version of him, Nightwing. I really would like to see a Dick Grayson in this particular universe as Nightwing. It is one of those things where they've referenced and name dropped Bloodhaven before, and maybe earlier seasons in Arrow. I don't know if they still do it as much, but I really would have loved to have always seen a Nightwing in the Arrowverse. So maybe not necessarily his own show, but just jumping out. But I feel like if maybe for like an actual recurring character, somebody that has a role or even has his own show, maybe somebody like a Blue Beetle. But those would be the two that I would certainly say.
This is actually kind of interesting because like I do agree season 3 wasn't as good as seasons 1 and 2, but I did still really enjoy season 3 overall for what it was. But yeah, I'm hoping that season 4 ends up being really good.
Yeah, I don't think I fully watched all of season 3 of Young Justice because I really wanted to go back and rewatch seasons 1 and 2. What I did see, though, I certainly enjoyed for sure, but I really wanted to binge that entire season. I'm just glad that we're getting ourselves a season 4. I just hope it's a case of, hey, we announced that we want to do a season 4, we're going to, and then it takes them years to go ahead and bring them back. So I'm just hoping that our wait for season 4 isn't as long as our wait for season 3. I think right now, when you've got something like an HBO Max, man, they can use all the content that you can create, man. So definitely go. Not that they're lacking in content, but considering I just feel like the upswing that HBO Max is in right now and its popularity, yeah, I feel like Young Justice would be perfect on there. AJ says, regular comment, curious to see who will play Aquaman on The Flash since Cisco went to Atlantis. Same for if we get a Wonder Woman appearance. I heard Gal Gadot wants a cameo in the Arrowverse. Well, they haven't announced anything about Aquaman being there, right? I haven't heard anything about, hey, Aquaman's popping up this season. Have you?
No. Well, what he's referencing though is that, yeah, there was like a thing where Cisco had to grab something from Atlantis, and I don't remember if we saw him come back from Atlantis afterwards, but I kind of assume it's if Aquaman does get brought up, it'll be by name. I don't think we'll see like a physical Aquaman. But if we did, I'd be all for it. Especially, it would be kind of funny if they got the guy playing Hawkman currently on Titans. If they got him to reprise his role as Aquaman, that'd be pretty funny.
That would be pretty funny, man. I would not be opposed to that at all. That would be pretty neat. Shadow Nova says CW needs to make a Nightwing series. I would be perfectly okay with that. And Forever Green will even say, or a Joker series. I would be even or okay with that also.
I don't know about a Joker series on the CW.
Not me. Maybe not on the CW. You're right. Maybe not on the CW. You're right. I don't know if I necessarily would want that in my Arrowverse, but maybe like an HBO Max series. I would probably take something along those lines. But I would want it different than the Joker movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I definitely would. But that's cool, man. Thank you guys for your suggestions for sure. But other than that, guys, I think that's going to wrap it up for us today on A Plus Hero Report. So thank you very much, guys, for definitely joining us here, especially with our new time slot that we wind up having today. So we appreciate it. Again, going forward, guys, it probably is going to be 11 o'clock a.m. Central Time. So definitely go ahead and stay tuned for that. I do believe Indy's work schedule has in fact changed. So Indy may not be joining us on A Plus Hero Report for a few weeks. He may pop in certainly from time to time whenever he's certainly available to do so. And of course, he's definitely going to be providing content for you guys on A Plus Hero Report's YouTube page as well, and on our Facebook page for A Plus Opinions. We did just have DC's Fandom Day 2, which I believe we're going to be posting some of those videos, panel reviews on our YouTube page. Again, if you want to find A Plus Hero Report, just go ahead and spell it out, guys. A Plus Hero Report on YouTube. Go ahead and certainly subscribe to us there for more videos and things like that. Now, Stuart, I did see when I went to the YouTube page, do you have the DC Fandom movie panels that we reviewed a couple weeks back? You have those scheduled to drop, I see, as premieres throughout the week?
Yeah. The reason I didn't do it all at once is because it does apparently mess up the YouTube algorithm if you like drop too much content in a one day. So I thought it'd be a lot easier to just do like 2 a day throughout all of next week.
Okay, cool. So yeah, you guys will be seeing some videos that maybe we filmed for A Plus Opinions on our Facebook page from a couple of weeks back from DC Fandom. But we will be posting the day 2 stuff as well on there for you. I believe we already have the Black Lightning panel, Legends of Tomorrow. What else did you do yesterday?
I did Legends and Stargirl.
Stargirl, that's right. And I believe Indy's going to be working on Batwoman for you guys and Harley Quinn. And we'll be putting more stuff out there throughout the week, guys. So do us a big favor. We definitely would love your continued support and helping us grow our YouTube page and our community. So please go ahead and subscribe and hit that bell notification so that when we do drop brand new videos, guys, you will certainly be notified. But Stuart, when people want to try and reach out to you on social media directly, where can they find you at, sir?
You guys can find me at TurboStew01 on Twitter, and you can also check out my older channel, which I'll get a little more into detail next week about, but I have a new short film coming there, and basically I got a rough cut of it done. I still have some pickup shots I need to finish up, but yeah, for the most part, it's I want to say about 60% done. I'll go and I'll like reveal the title of it next week, but yeah, for now I'm still keeping it under wraps. You'll see why next week though.
Awesome, Stuart. Well, hey, man, again, I appreciate you joining me here this week. But guys, other than that, that's going to wrap it up for us. So do us a big favor here. If you want to follow us on social media right here at A Plus Opinions, we're going to be on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Twitch as well for you gamers. So definitely follow us then. And until next week, we will certainly see you guys later. So take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and of course, keep it A Plus. We'll talk to you later. Bye.